Welcome to Founderology, the Built to Breakthrough podcast. My name is Kathleen Wood, and I am the founder of the award-winning growth strategy firm Kathleen Wood Partners, where we work with founder-led businesses to propel them to new levels of success with growth strategies, competitive positioning, and leadership development. I'm also the founder of the Founderology Growth Summit, an exciting event where we bring together visionary restaurant founders to connect, to engage, and to share their insights and resources for accelerating the growth of their exciting businesses. And if you're not familiar with me at this point, please know that you are getting familiar with me with every episode that we have where I get the opportunity to talk to game changers, innovators, trailblazers, and founders who are truly building brands to break through. And today I'm really excited because we have two amazing guests today, Shawn Lalehzarian from Red Chickz and John Dorer from EB3.work. Gentlemen, it is great to have you on the Founderology podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
All
Very
right.
excited.
Yeah, we're very excited too. And if we're good, Shawn, you and I are going to start first because we have so much to talk about Red Chickz. We've got to get into this immediately. How do you feel about that?
Sure thing. Let's do it.
All right. Look, Shawn, I've been a big fan of watching you grow your concept on so many different levels, and I'm really excited for you to be here today. And I think what would be great is for you to kind of share your origin story for how you started Red Chickz and now where you're taking it today.
Sure thing. So a little background. I moved to the United States from Iran back in '98. And when I moved here, I didn't really know much. I didn't even know how to speak English. So my very first job was a dishwasher at a local restaurant, literally 3 weeks after I got here. And I haven't left the restaurant industry since. So I worked as a dishwasher while I was going to ESL classes. Eventually, as my English got better, I could read the tickets and I could understand some basic conversation. I became a cook at the same restaurant. And then a couple of years later, became a server, and then eventually left that restaurant and started working with HMS Host in airport operation, overseeing multi-unit, multi-brand operations in food and beverage part of airports. And I worked with Host for about 10 years. I worked in San Diego Airport, John Wayne, part of LAX in Palm Springs. And during that 10 years, I also was involved in opening about 50 different restaurants around the nation and Canada. So, and then eventually in 2014, I had the opportunity to partner up with a couple of great people and open our first restaurant in downtown LA. So we opened that restaurant in 2014. We opened second restaurant in 2016 and Red Chickz in 2018. So Red Chickz, as we were looking for a new concept to bring to downtown, we were thinking about fried chicken or burger joint. And as we were doing research about fried chicken, we came across hot chicken, which back then the only hot chicken in LA was Holland Ray's. And so flew out to Nashville and spent about 2 weeks out there asking everyone from the bellman of the hotel to Uber drivers if they had anyone in their family that knows how to make hot chicken. And a couple of these folks invited us to their homes and shared the recipe. So the seasoning part of our chicken and the dipping sauce, the comeback sauce that we have, is the original recipe we brought back from Nashville. So that's a little short story of the journey of myself and Red Chickz.
You know, Shawn, I just have to say, congratulations. I mean, it really is the embodiment of the American dream. I mean, this is why I love the restaurant industry, right? I still believe it's one of these industries that if you work hard, you know, and really put the effort into it, that you can achieve so much success. And obviously, that's what you've been doing ever since you arrived, right? And then just continue to do it with HMS Host and now with Red Chickz. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate
That's fantastic.
it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Very inspiring too.
Thank you.
So Shawn, you know, as you were opening up Red Chickz, you know, I always find with founders that, and I always ask this question too, that there's always an aha moment where you're like, like we see the concept, we think it's going to be amazing, but then we open it and we're like, okay, what's going to happen? What was your aha moment with Red Chickz where you're like, oh, this is going to work and we are going to grow it?
Sure. Well, we had a couple of them, honestly, but definitely I want to say one of the main ones which influenced the entire brand and how we went about expanding. About 3 or 4 weeks after we opened the restaurant, we got a Yelp review, a one-star Yelp review that said the chicken is not good. I don't remember the detail of it, but the final sentence of that um, review was that these guys are the Taco Bell of Nashville hot chicken. And back then I used to take Yelp reviews very personally. So I took that to heart, that night.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of Brian Niccol, now the CEO of Starbucks. And
Yep.
back then, Brian was part of Taco Bell,
Yes.
chairman. So
Yeah.
I was just the incident of the comparison and all that. And the very next day, when I got back to office with my partners, I had the very first idea of why not becoming the Taco Bell of hot chicken? Why not franchising and just becoming, the giant of this segment, which obviously we were not ready for that. We were just open for like 3 weeks, but that's where the
Yeah.
idea started. And from
Right.
there, we started working on okay, what needs to be done when we get to that segment and franchising. So we started manufacturing our products, fine tuning our distribution, and started working on standards and what we want to put in and how we want things to go and the design. And when we felt like we have all the foundation ready for this, we got into franchising. So I would say that was one of the biggest one, which influenced the entire expansion and the brand.
So, it's always fascinating how I don't know any founders that don't take those reviews personally, because it's kind of like you're saying something about the baby at that point.
Right.
But I love how you take a one-star Yelp review and flip it to decide that, you are going to become the Taco Bell because, look, I thought it was ironic that they called you Taco Bell because at that time, Taco Bell was doing, still is doing very well.
Yes.
So I just love how you took the one star and used it as the catalyst to inspire you to get the systems, the process, the concept, everything in line to franchise it. I mean,
100%.
fantastic.
Yeah, and we actually
Yeah.
have a copy of that review posted in our stores now. So
Oh, that's the best. That's the best. I love that. Well, thank that Yelp. We should all be thankful to that Yelp reviewer.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
totally that perspective. Shawn, as you've been growing, you've made a lot of great decisions along the way too, with what you're doing with the brand, what you're doing with your menu. What would you say would be one of the more bold, unconventional decisions you've made with Red Chickz?
I would say probably what we did on our social media and on both sides. So initially, when we opened our very first store in LA, we didn't really get any publications. There was no article about us. Nobody really wrote about, our opening because we
Right.
opened in a very short time frame from a couple of other hot chicken places. So the noise was already out there, but nobody really focused. So we figured we put all our effort and money and everything we have in social media, and back then was Instagram. It's the only thing that we have control over, and it's the only thing that we can actually execute ourselves. So we started with that, and as we were working on our Instagram, my partner was very insistent to start TikTok, and we're talking about January of 2019. And
Okay.
nobody was really on TikTok. Everybody back then,
Right.
everybody was like, "Oh, this is gonna go away. Who's gonna go from Instagram to TikTok?" And we were on the same mindset, but my partner was very insistent that no, we got to get on TikTok. So finally, after a couple of weeks, we were like, okay, we'll give it a try. Let's get on TikTok and see how it goes. And within a very short period of time, I think within the first 6 weeks, we grew into 12,000 followers on TikTok. And that was just like, it took us months to get to 12,000 on Instagram. and 6 weeks
Right.
on TikTok. So we just put all our focus, and we try to get very creative and out of the box on TikTok. So we started doing some
Right.
crazy ideas back then, and we still do. TikTok is that sort of a venue for us. And
Right.
I would say that was when really no brand was out there on TikTok doing
Right.
all this stuff. I think that decision to get there and actually put the investment and the time and effort and create something unique on that platform, and deliver what back then the consumers of TikTok were looking for. I think that was probably one of those decisions.
Oh my gosh. And Shawn, how many restaurants did you have when you made that decision to do
We only had
TikTok?
one. We just had our very first location, and then we, I believe, with that one location, we got to over 500,000 followers, and then
Mm,
we opened the second location, and obviously now we have three franchise locations open, and we're currently at 1.1 million followers, and I
one.
think 36 or 37 million likes.
Oh my gosh,
Thank you.
congratulations. That is fantastic. I have to suspect that having that kind of followership on TikTok and also that engagement on TikTok, that's got to help you in the franchising side of the world too.
It definitely helped us with bring the awareness to the markets that we're
Yeah.
going. We haven't used these platforms to generate leads, not yet. Initially, we wanted to make sure that the first batch of franchisees that we bring on board, that they're very important because they can make us or break us as very
Yeah.
first franchisees. So we wanted to make sure that we bring overqualified, I want to say, franchisees on board. But we are in the process of using these platforms for our lead generation, for our expansion. So, yes.
That's fantastic. To be when you really think about it, to be a small brand wanting to franchise and then knowing that you've got 1 million followers, 37 million likes on that's got to, for reputational business, concept credibility, that is quite the, that's got to be quite the confidence booster for anyone looking to franchise with you.
100%. Yes.
That is great. So, Shawn, as you're thinking about scaling now, because now you've been, California based, you're building in California, and now you're starting to expand across the United States. What do you find as both a challenge and an opportunity as you're starting to scale at this time?
I want to say the very first challenge, and it's still sort of a challenge, is finding the right franchisee. That's one of our first and main challenges.
Yeah.
We initially, when we got to the franchise market, we initially got only expanded in 4 states. So we did California, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas. And the reason behind it was we want to make sure that we master everything out of state in states that are closer to us before we go and open one, across the nation. So we did that. We opened our first Houston location, and we, went through the challenges with distribution and standards and control and all that stuff. And once everything was in place, then this year, actually, in 2024, we opened our markets nationwide, and we started selling units in North Carolina, New Jersey, and Oklahoma, and other states. So, but along the way, I want to say I was very lucky to have the experience I had with HMS Host. And technically, I was on the franchisee side when I was working at Host. So I learned a lot of how-to from best brands, everything from Starbucks to Wolfgang Puck and CPK and PF Chang's. So all that knowledge helped us to lay the foundation, and not knowing all of it because every brand has different challenges as they grow, but knowing the basics of it, that we can prevent certain challenges and know how to fix them if they come across. I think that piece was invaluable for us. And I'm not saying that we knew it all, or at any given time we know it all. There are always new challenges,
Right.
but it was a great foundation to at least know how to lay the foundation for our brand. So
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so admirable too that you wanted to, open the first one to make sure that it works and that it was going to work and it was going to be successful. And, you had the systems kind of worked out so that franchisees could be successful with it. But, one of the things I always talk about is you can never underestimate your career journey, because all of those experiences that we have, especially in the restaurant industry, they all, you're wondering, why am I here? Why am I doing it? How am I going to use this? And then look, it all comes to fruition when you start to do your own concept and start to scale it too, which is, the HMS host experience, fantastic.
100%.
Yeah, and seeing all those brands too, because you saw, and you plus you're building them in very intense environments, airports, arenas,
Right.
things like that. Not the most typical places to build a restaurant either. So that's
Right.
fantastic. Shawn, when you think about being a founder right now, and obviously, being a founder takes a lot. It's, a lot of internal fortitude, persistence, vision, passion, purpose. What do you think is one of the most overlooked traits that founders have that you actually think is a superpower for you?
Um, I mean, I don't think I've had a typical journey in, everything from moving here as an immigrant and what I've gone through, and also getting to know the culture of this country and the lifestyle as I'm growing and learning and trying to make a living and going to school. But
Right.
for me, personal development is huge, and I was very lucky to, in the very first year that I moved here, and I started to learn, basic English and understand certain things. I was very lucky. As one of my friends back then gave me a CD of Jim Rohn, and that was the
Oh,
start of that path for me. And I've been on it, and I'm still on it, and I probably will be on it for another 2 decades. It's very important, and I think it's what it does. It directly and indirectly influence your decisions, how you treat the company, how you treat people, how you go about developing a team. Um, I think it's very important, and how it helps you to get to know yourself, parts that you didn't know about yourself, good or bad. I'm not saying it's always great. Sometimes you find things that is not
right.
good, and it gives you the opportunity and the awareness to do something about the things that are not a good trait and change them. I think definitely personal growth is one of the top ones.
Well, and Jim Rohn, the master, if not the pioneer in personal growth, especially for entrepreneurs and business leaders. I mean, what a great gift to find that early out as you're starting your career
Absolutely.
journey too. I mean, fantastic. Those lessons are timeless too. Great resource for people to look into as well. When you think about your mindset for this, right? Because obviously it has been a journey too. How would you kind of describe your mindset, or, your kind of framework from which you operate that drives you as a founder, Shawn?
Um, I would I would probably say it goes back to when I was at Host. When I read the first 2 weeks that I got hired at Host, I was very eager. I wanted to, shine and show my GM that, hey, I see things or I understand things that nobody else does. And I kept coming to my GM with issues and problems that they were in operation, and point them out and say, hey, there's this is going on. And after a couple of weeks, he was like, hey, if you want to come to me with a problem, make sure you come to me with 3 solutions so I can pick one.
Uh,
And then later on, he told me, if you want to grow with this company, you got to become a problem solver. You got to be the one that if there's something going on in JFK Airport in New York, they say, you know what, call Shawn in San Diego and he knows how to solve the problem. And that stuck with me. I would say that
yeah.
the mindset of being a problem solver is, and I love it. It's one of the things that when when situations come about, I don't think about the problem and how and why. I first go straight to, okay, how do we solve it? And then we can go back and see how it
Right.
happened and make sure how it doesn't happen. But sitting there and pounding of, oh, there's a problem, and this problem, it just doesn't serve us. So I've been on that. I think that
Love it.
mindset has helped me greatly, and I've tried to also communicate that to our team, whether it's in store level or our franchisees, or as we bring other team members on board in our corporate, that we just want to focus on the solution. We don't want to. You can spend
Yeah.
30 seconds on the problem, but the rest of that 3 minutes needs to be on the solution and how do we solve it. And I would say that probably is one of those mindsets that has helped me greatly.
Oh my gosh, I love that, and I love that equation for it too, right? Be more solutions, more time on solutions, less time on origin, and go back and figure it out
Right.
later. Love that. Shawn, it's amazing. I always find this so amazing too, that how fast time goes when we're having the Founderology podcast. And
100%.
we are now entering into I know, right? It goes so fast. Now we're getting into our final 5, what we call the fast 5 questions. So these are 5 questions that we ask everybody. And because I always want the listeners to kind of get more lessons, more insights from the amazing people that we get on like you. So are you
Let's
ready
do
for
it.
the fast 5? All right, number 1, if someone were to go to Red Chickz, what would be the one item that you would say they had to try if they were going to Red Chickz?
Honey butter chicken sandwich.
Ooh, that was good. Okay, I'm going to try that, and I'm also going to try the French toast sandwich because that looked very delicious. If there was one word that would describe your journey as a founder right now, what would be the word you would use?
Exciting.
Oh, that's a good one too. All right. If there's one book that you would suggest to founders that they should listen to or read, what would be the
That's
book?
tough.
I know, right?
Can I do a couple? I would say definitely
Totally.
Extreme Ownership is one of the best books out there for leadership. Another one I would say, What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Oh, that's a
Those
good
two
one
books,
too.
I would say.
Oh, those 2 great books. Thank you for that. And also for Jim Rohn.
Okay.
So thanks for that one too. All right. If you could give everyone who's listening out here, founders who are listening to you right now, one piece of advice for them to continue on their journey, to take their concept and really build it to break through, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
For me, as I say, I think personal development is huge. So I would say be a good listener. It always helps.
That is I love that. I love that. And you know what? When you're under a lot of pressure, it's hard to listen sometimes. So
And I've been
that's a
there. I'm
great
not saying
one.
I'm master at it, but as I grow more, I realize that just listening is half the solution.
Yeah, so true. All right. And Shawn, where can people go to learn more about you and Red Chickz and get in on your Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure. We obviously have TikTok and Instagram for our Red Chickz store and our website. And I have my personal Instagram as well, Shawn Lalehzarian. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. So whatever works.
All right. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your insights and your journey. It's inspiring, it's motivating, and also you gave us some great lessons for everyone listening to take and start applying in their journeys as well. And I just wish you continued success. I cannot wait to have my Red Chickz experience. And thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Shawn, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you continued success with Red Chickz. And now I'm thrilled to be welcoming John Dorer in from EB3.work to talk about his journey and his amazing company too. So John, welcome to Founderology.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kathleen. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you here too. And John, I wanted to start because I always want to understand people's origin stories, like what inspires them to start their business. And you definitely have a business that we're all going to learn a lot more about today. And I thought it'd be great if we could start with kind of your origin and then what led you to launch EB3.work.
Yeah, so I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial mindset. And I guess a good point to start, this was around around the year 2000, 99, 2000. Amazon was just coming on, the internet and e-commerce were, in the early days. And my educational background is IT and marketing, and I was kind of looking at industries that had not really embraced technology and different opportunities in general. And I, stumbled into an immigration attorney's office, and it was crazy, just total chaos. This is in New York. Forms, everything filled out by paper. Forms, papers everywhere, completely unorganized. And so, of course, little bells started going off of, this can be, this should be more organized. I learned immigration law was federal, which means that, an attorney can have clients in every state, but nobody was really taking advantage of that. And so I kind of clicked with this immigration attorney. I said, let's build a website, let's see what happens. He started getting lots of clients, too many to handle. He was turning away work. He taught me some basic immigration workflow, and I hired a team and started a separate kind of case management, paralegal, case prep type service. And that really helped understand the workflow, and I started building back-end systems, IT stacks, IT systems for immigration attorneys so they could scale their business from just, their local zip code to nationwide. And fast forward, that was a good set of tools for what I'm doing now, being able to build custom IT portals, client systems that can scale, understanding the employment-based immigration process.
Wow.
And things really kind of accelerated during COVID when, there had been a general trend of declining workforce participation. The baby boomer bubble was kind of coming through and retiring, and so more people retiring than entering the workforce. And, year after year and season after season, employers would have fewer people applying for their positions and kind of scratching their head and what do I do? And so, we were able to kind of create this win-win situation that connects employers with non-U.S. workers who want to immigrate to the U.S. and work for them and make that happen.
Wow, that's amazing. So John, I love how you used your technology background to resolve a problem, and then to take that problem and to kind of evolve it into a more a system, right, for solutions, and then ultimately into your business. I mean, what a again, a great way that the things that we learn part-time in our career, they all kind of like stack up to lead us to our journey where we start an amazing business. And for those listeners who are not familiar with the EB3 visa, because that's what your company is processing and helping people in the process with, can you kind of just give a top-line overview of what the EB3 visas are and why they're important to restaurant owners and operators?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go even a little more high level for some perspective. So immigration in the U.S. is sponsorship-based, which means that you either have to have an immediate relative sponsor you, like a spouse or a parent. You can have an employer sponsor you, which is what we do. EB stands for employment-based, and the 3 is the category of worker. And then if you have a special set of skills or contributions, let's say, for example, you're discovered a cure for cancer or working on it, you can self-sponsor. But that's kind of the basic umbrella of immigration in the U.S. It's sponsorship-based. And so within the employment business world, the employer, somebody has to have a job offer for future employment in order and to be sponsored. The EB3, the 3 is the 3rd category. And, there's 1, 2, 3, and they are based on the employer's minimum requirements for a position. And so Apple, Tesla, Facebook, they are sponsoring software engineers. That's EB2 because it's a bachelor degree, master degree required. EB3 is for skilled workers and other workers that require less than 2 years of experience, and that's kind of our domain. So lots of multi-unit fast food franchisees that can never find enough crew members is kind of our sweet spot. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because I would suspect that we know that in certain segments of the restaurant industry, there's higher levels of turnover that are happening at quick service restaurants, fast casual restaurants. So how does when you think about, this high level of turnover and these kind of staffing challenges, right? How does the EB3 process or the EB3 visa help those restaurateurs with some of the things that they're challenged with high turnover and lack of an available talent pool too?
Yeah, great question. There's a unique benefit in the EB3 program where the worker has to stay for at least 1 year in order to prove what they call, bona fide intent, that they didn't just do this to get the green card, that they really intend to work for the employer. Many stay for longer than a year, but they, generally speaking, the applicant worker knows that if they stay less than a year, if they go to apply for citizenship, which they can do after about 5 years, or renew their permanent residence, also known as a green card, after about 10 years, that application could be in jeopardy if they didn't stay. And so that's especially helpful in fast casual and QSR, where turnover is, every 2-3 months.
Right. So does this help also to identify like if they're going to work for a year, does that mean that this person is more committed, more qualified, more willing to work because they too are, it's an equation of success for both the EB3 person as well as the employer? Is that one of the other benefits for the restaurant operator owner?
I'll answer that a different way. When we do, as part of our process, we pre-screen the applicants, and we, by Zoom, and then we have a Zoom interview with the employer. They have their resumes beforehand, and they are blown away by the quality of the applicants. So many are interested in a career in hospitality, and where they, because of their country, the employment situation in their country, there's just no growth trajectory like there is in the U.S.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So it's definitely a screening process. It's not like everyone, there's actually, and I think that would be a good thing. Can you maybe walk us a little bit through how the process actually works, and what are some of the things that, when you think about the owner operator wanting to sponsor applicants, what that process might look like?
Right. So we do a kind of a discovery call first with the employer, and not every employer will qualify. This is really suited better for companies with at least 100 W-2 employees. And so, let's say you're an owner operator with, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus units, 300 plus employees, et cetera. You're generally able to sponsor as many crew members as you need. And so we'll do that analysis for free, and then we file a prevailing wage request. Our legal team, which we're tightly integrated with, files what's called a prevailing wage request. This is the minimum wage that the employer is required to pay. It's almost always below what the market wage is, and so that's rarely, if ever, an issue. And then we do our recruitment. There is a requirement for the employer to show that they made a bona fide intent to hire locally. And so there are 2 ads in the Sunday newspaper and 30 days with the state workforce agency that our legal team works with the employer and handles. And then we do our pre-screening. We pre-screened for green card eligibility. And so that, you have to have a spotless background, no criminal behavior, no visa overstay, no immigration violation, et cetera. And then we also, want people to be a great fit for the position. And so, these are generally no experience required, no education required, but people who have a great smile, great energy, make great crew members. And so, that's kind of a unique advantage that we have.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, sorry to interrupt. And then the immigration process plays out. It's not a quick process. This is not kind of the silver bullet, but it is a long-term tool for a long-term problem.
Right. Nope, that's great. So your company, EB3.work, you handle that whole, am I tracking on that correctly? You handle that whole process for the employer.
Exactly. So if an employer was to do it themselves, they would have to, have two things. They would have to have an HR team that has the bandwidth and understanding to know how to screen and do the recruitment for foreign national applicants, and then have most likely an in-house immigration attorney to do the immigration work. And, that's a tall ask for, somebody who's really focusing on operations and growing their stores, et cetera. And so that's what we do. We take that off their plate. We are a long-term partner with our employer clients to solve their high turnover, staffing, and crew member issues.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then obviously the benefit to the employer is that, the goal is to have a long-term tenured, team member that hopefully, because they've been screened, that not only are they staying on in their entry-level position, but, because they're passionate about what they're doing, they stay and they, fundamentally could start a career with an organization.
Absolutely. I'll give you a couple of examples. There's a visa called the H-2B visa, and this is a seasonal visa in contrast to the EB-3. The EB-3 is for permanent full-time work. The H-2B visa is a temporary peak load, and so when you go skiing in Colorado in the winter, that's a peak load, and so you kind of see some of those foreign national hospitality workers there. Those are some of the best workers, the best people, because they go from busy season 6 months here to busy season 6 months there. They have to learn the systems. They get thrown in the weeds on day one. They have to learn the systems. They have to learn the chemistry of the people. They have to do it all with a smile, and they do. And so the problem is that they can't put down roots because they're constantly moving. There's no promotion opportunity. It's just cook or waitress. But many have degrees, associates, bachelors in hospitality management. They want to set down roots. They want to grow, and so it's a perfect match for owner-operators that want to move people up through their management ranks.
Yeah, what a great way to provide, again, the stepping stones to somebody coming in and pursuing, the American dream for sure. John, if a restaurant operator was interested in learning more about EB3.work and the work you do with them, how would they find out more information about that?
Go straight to EB3.work. That's our website. Reach out to me there. Reach out to us there. We're on LinkedIn, personally, John Dorer, and EB3.work, Instagram, both ways. But probably the website's probably easiest.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then, John, if you could maybe summarize for us the benefit of of a company contacting you, what would be the benefit of them working with you with EB3.work in order to support them in their growth, their staffing, their retention of their team members?
Yeah, I mean, Shawn, your other guest, who I'm still in awe of, had a great point about listening, and that's what we try to do. We try to listen to what the real pain points are. Is it you can't find enough crew members? Is it they're leaving too quickly? Is it too much overtime? Is it labor costs? And so really the EB3 program addresses all of those. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And in today's dynamic world, we can all use all the support and help we can get, don't you think?
100%.
Absolutely. John, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about, your work with EB3.work or with this process in general?
I'd like to give a shout out to my great team. Our recruiting team, our immigration attorney team, everybody, works very hard to make me look good, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, and this is, if you're in this business, in this game for the long haul, if you're looking 3, 4, 5 years down the road, this is definitely something that should be on your radar and at least just to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, John, I appreciate that, because one of the things we're trying to do at Founderology is to bring not only great founder stories to light for people so they can be inspired and motivated, but also to bring them, resources, tools, different ways to think about their business and different ways to grow it as well. And I think having you on today, and I thank you for your sponsorship of this as well, and your sponsorship of, the support of helping founders really build great businesses by having great people too. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the great work you're doing each and every day to help people really achieve, their dream as well. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for all you do to really amplify the messages of these great founders, Kathleen. It's really, really inspiring and fun to watch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And to our listeners, I want to say thank you so much for joining Shawn, John, and myself today at Founderology Built to Break Through. Please continue to subscribe to our episodes. We love hearing from you, and we love when you're listening to us as well. And until next time, look, keep pushing those boundaries, keep breaking through, and have a great day. Thank you.